Alright, quick update on Moonriver, ticker symbol MOVR. So one of my members, Kareem, asked me if I could cover this, so I will check it out. In my opinion, this really doesn't look too good. If you are a veteran to my channel, you know that I don't like sugarcoating anything. This is really one of the uglier charts that I have seen. I'm going to be talking about the momentum indicators in the lower time frame in just a moment, and why I think that we're basically at an inflection point where we're probably likely to quickly cascade to the downside. However, if we do head over to the weekly time frame, put it on a logarithmic growth curve scale to even out the massive runs up and down a little bit easier, you can see that we have had a large influx in volume over the past couple of weeks. Specifically over on KuCoin, we had 564,000 bought a couple of weeks ago. Last week 690,000. This week about 380,000 bought. However, the price action did not move too greatly to the upside, and in fact, if we do switch over to the Heikin-Ashi candles on the weekly time frame, you can see that, you know, especially on the Japanese candlesticks, we do experience these very relatively short-lived bounces from time to time. However, when you do switch over to the Heikin-Ashis, you can see it is predominantly sellers in this market structure. So why did we not bounce too euphorically? As you can see, bear in mind this is a logarithmic growth curve scale, so this may look like it has diminished the bounce somewhat. We did move up from about $10 all the way up to $18, even though we had basically record-breaking amounts of volume coming in. So why was it not able to move to the upside? Unlike previous times where we didn't have as much volume coming in, and we actually had moves from $45 all the way up to $97, representing a 115% pump. Well, if we do briefly talk about the tokenomics are not the hottest that I've ever seen on this token. You can see the circulating supply right now is about halfway through, not even halfway through. The total supply is about 10,394,000. So the current market cap is 58,244,000, which would be relatively low for most cryptocurrencies, but bear in mind this is part of the Polkadot ecosystem, looking to provide smart contracts on Kusama. So it is definitely a relatively, I don't want to say it's a relatively small niche, but it is definitely much more of a niche than, you know, potentially a smart potentially something that's built on top of Ethereum, like an ERC token, or a Solana ecosystem token, like an SLP token. So bear in mind, you know, it is a relatively small niche, and you know, the fully diluted market cap is just a little bit too much for me. Now, unfortunately, they don't have a white paper either. You know, if you do go over and click on their quote-unquote white paper, they don't have a white paper at this moment in time. So that is definitely something to be relatively worried about in the short term, mid-term, long term. In my opinion, if you're going to have a cryptocurrency project that is, you know, valued at around about 58 million, you would definitely want it to have a white paper, because this, you know, this is a project without any white paper and it's 58 million. That is a lot of money without a clear and concise plan that is edged into stone in a white paper. So for me to be remotely bullish on this, I would need to at least see, you know, a medium paper, a light paper. Let's start from there, see if there's any development, and then move over to a white paper. As of right now, there has been none of that, and you know, once again, that is a very worrying signal, considering this has been out for, you know, coming up for a year now. So definitely a warning sign. This did run up to round about 485. I do see quite a lot of people are saying, you know, to the moon, blah blah blah. But there's definitely a lot of red flags on this cryptocurrency that I personally would not be interested in investing. That's from a fundamental perspective. I like to keep the TA aside from the fundamentals. I like to keep them both separate. But when we are looking at it from a fundamental perspective, not the greatest. When we do look at it from a charting perspective, not the greatest. Put it on a log scale, Heikin-Ashi candle, smoothing out the trend. In my opinion, this is going to much lower price targets. When we head over to the monthly, you can basically see it's been dropping like a rock since $311. And when we do head over to the lower time frames, if we do come over to the daily, I want to show you something that I noticed, a fractal that plays out time over time again when we do look at the squeeze momentum indicator. So it's very easy to get carried away in cryptocurrencies like this over the span of 1 week or 2 weeks, they do like a 2x. And you look at them on CoinMarketCap, maybe that's where a lot of you have first seen this. You're scrolling through CoinMarketCap, you're looking at different exchanges, and you see that this is the top performing crypto of this week. You look at it and realize the all-time high is up here at 500, and you're like, wow, that's, insane asymmetrical returns. This is the project that I want to be into. But when we do look at the momentum indicators, you do see we play this fractal out time after time again. Specifically, it looks like we play out a short-term bounce over here. Once again, this was like a 500, not 500, sorry. This was approximately a 125% pump. And then over here, you can see, I would draw this as a bear flag, because to be honest, this is only 2 touch points, whereas this is 1, 2, and then coming up for 3, and then you've got candle body closes up here. So this is personally how I would draw this, and you do see that we play these patterns out time over time again. When we do just look at the most recent move, you have to zoom in to see the momentum shift, and this is what I'm talking about. Yes, it does do a 2x every now and then, but then it drops 50%, and bear in mind, if you lose 50% of your money, you need to do a 2x in order to regain that. And from the most recent drop, it did not drop that much. I mean, when we look at the most recent capitulation, it drops 80% and then regains like 60%. And once again, if you drop 99.9%, if you pump 99.9%, you're only moving up like 1 or 2% in respect. So definitely that would be a worrying signal for me. I would also like to note that every time you do have these fractals that do play out over on the squeeze momentum indicator, you can see these short-lived bunny hills to the upside that correlate to these rounding tops in the price action. And every single time you have a temporarily very short-lived flip over on the squeeze momentum indicator, you can see we push up for like a week or two, have a rounding top, go to the next level down. You saw it here. You also saw a disgusting rounded top over here when you had this massive run to the upside at about 400. So look, bunny hill, rounded top, bunny hill, rounded top, bunny hill, rounded top, bunny hill, rounded top. And then this is where it gets, worrying, because, as you can see, I have to zoom in. You're probably hearing my mouse drag halfway up my desk just so I can show you this was the second to last most recent momentum shift. And bear in mind, this is when we had 125% pump. We had another rounding top, run to the downside. This was less of a rounding top rather than a crab market into a asymmetrical triangle followed up by a breakdown. But nonetheless, you had this very, very short-lived pump over on the squeeze momentum indicator, and right now, in my opinion, we've already witnessed the same thing, which is why I've been saying at the start of the video, I think we're getting ready for that inflection point where you do look at the price action and we're starting to lose momentum. This is on the daily time frame, so let's just not formulate our opinion by looking at the tokenomics, talking about the fact that, this is a relatively niche project, and then also acknowledging that this doesn't have a white paper. So in my opinion, this is absolutely not a long-term project. Anything that doesn't have a white paper, not a long-term project. You can throw rocks through my window all you want, but, the fact of the matter is there. Look at many projects that don't have white papers. Most of them don't survive too long. They are short-lived hype projects, and subsequently, I do not unfortunately believe this will ever return to its all-time high. Yes, it can witness breakdowns, 2x's, huge breakdowns, 2x, huge breakdown, 2x, but subsequently I do believe that we are doomed to play out that same market structure again and again and again. When we do look at the momentum indicators on the daily time frame, the weekly, the weekly hasn't loaded in for a lot of these, but your money is flowing out of this market. Like it looks like it's done, in my opinion. On the daily time frame, since the most recent run to the upside, you went from 20 up to 71 over on the money flow indicator, indicating that a large amount of retail ran into this cryptocurrency. So why did it not move up, more than a short dead cat bounce up to previous resistance? Well, in my opinion, this is probably because of its tokenomics. It has very, very ugly tokenomics, and subsequently I can imagine that every time this is subject to a large pump, potentially there is a large amount of the supply which is not circulating, which is not in velocity at this moment in time, that is added to the circulating supply. That further dilutes the price already. That increases the fully diluted market cap. And if you don't know what the fully diluted market cap is, I have over on my YouTube an educational playlist. If you click on playlist, head over to my educational series, you will see this one of my first videos down here. No, not this one. Market cap versus fully diluted market cap. The gist of it is, the higher the fully diluted market cap is, the worse it is. The worse it is, because more money, this is how much money has to flow into the ecosystem. So, you know, you've got 125 million, take away, you know, approximately 60 million or so, you know, you've got like 60 or 70 million, you know, it's more than that, about 70 to 75, 77 million that would need to flow into the market cap. So that's over a double of the market cap for it to remain the same price if the total supply does continue to get released on this project. So a lot of worrying things. Once again, no white paper, not the best tokenomics, very niche market, never heard of it, not on a high amount of good exchanges. It is on KuCoin and it is on Femex and it is over on Binance as well. So, you know, those are the mainstream ones. But apart from that, you know, these are ones that list many altcoins in the first place. So not something to be relatively impressed with. However, once again, daily squeeze bomb is heading to the downside, just like we saw over here. It looks like we would be getting ready for that next major flush to the downside. What happened the last time? Oops. Drag the price action to the wrong screen. What happened the last time? I need to go back because something happened. There we go. This should be good now. So what happened once again the last time that you had a run to the upside and a fake out over on the squeeze bomb? Since you lost the momentum, and this is over on the squeeze bomb where the dark green starts stepping in. When you're in a light green phase, that's indicative bulls are taking control. When you head over to dark green, that's indicative that bears are coming back into control. And since that most recent, or the second most recent fake out over on the squeeze bomb, we had a 58% drop to the downside. If we do look and see if we can extrapolate somewhat of a price target, draw our Fibonacci from our most recent low to our high, it might be a little bit hard to see over here because it's on dark mode, but our 1.618 Fibonacci, the next major leg to the downside would actually be down here at $4.80. Am I saying that we're coming right down for this price target? Not necessarily, but in the next couple of weeks, in the next couple of months, I would have to say that we would be coming right down to approximately $4.80 for Moonriver. Now, once again, bear in mind this can do parabolic runs to the upside, but in the mid to long term, the fundamentals are not there, the white paper is not there, the technicals in the higher time frames and the lower time frames are not looking good. And when you do head over to the lower time frames, you can see things like the squeeze bomb, they're flipping bearish while money is flowing into the market. So that is a massive worrying signal that you're seeing the MFI going up, meaning that retail money is flowing into this project, but the price is going down. That basically means that the market cap is getting diluted. So that is definitely something to be very worried about. The momentum indicators like the squeeze bomb, or sorry, not the squeeze bomb, the MACD, they're heading down for a brutal move. The last time we had this amount of momentum, we went from about 0.3, so 30% to the upside, down to 0.3, 30% to the downside. So, you know, like a very decent swing to the downside, about 60%. So if we do something like this, we were up here at 0.2, we could expect, you know, something brutal like this. You know, we've got so much more room to head to the downside on the MACD. And if we do look at the histogram bars as well, we can just see that there's so much volume, or not volume, there's so much momentum coming in on every indicator. And it is very worrying to see that retail money is flowing into this. And we know this as well because when we look at the weekly time frame, we can see large amounts of money is flowing in. Basically, we've had 3 of the most bullish weeks in terms of volume stepping into this project, but the price is stagnating. If we look at this, whenever large amounts of volume comes in and we have these spikes to the upside, this must mean that the market cap, the circulating supply, is getting diluted by inflation because, you know, retail's coming in, they're buying this. You know, even if you look at the daily, there's a lot of days where you have huge amounts of volume coming in, and they finish bullish, but the price gets massively pushed down to the downside. There's a lot of red flags on this. If you are new to the channel and you think I'm just bashing this for no reason, I like to look at the charts objectively. So, you know, nonetheless, some people may disagree with my opinion, but this is the opinion I have formulated from looking at their website, trying to dig for a white paper, a light paper, a mid paper, something to talk about the long-term fundamentals of this project, and it's just not there. You know, you've got a documentation page when you do come onto their home. I've browsed the rest of this website as well. Sure, it does talk about building, operating nodes, using their tokens and learning about them, but you know, the white paper is just not there. So a lot of worrying signals. I would definitely advise that if you are getting into this, make sure you're doing your own research and you're not just FOMOing in because you've gone over on CoinMarketCap and seen that at some point in the past week or the past month, it did have a big move to the upside. So I definitely advise caution if you're trading this. Also, one of the most important metrics when you are judging whether to buy an altcoin, if it's a good investment, is to chart it against Bitcoin, because if you are buying an altcoin, you're taking tons of extra risk on, and there is no point in buying an altcoin that can't outperform Bitcoin. Why is there no point in buying an altcoin that can't outperform Bitcoin? Because Bitcoin is the least risky cryptocurrency in the world. So when you buy an altcoin that is underperforming Bitcoin, you are taking on tons of extra risk, you are not reaping that reward, and it's basically like you're flushing your money down the toilet. So I would definitely say that we're going down to lower price targets. $4.80 is in play. I don't know if I'll cover this again, but yeah, that is basically all I've got for Moonriver. Once again, thanks to the member for recommending this to me. Everyone, have a good day, and as always, my friends, Cowboy out. Peace.